For thousands of years, humans have used tattoos to mark identity, status, or belief. From Polynesian tribal ink to medieval Europe, tattoos carried meaning far beyond decoration. But in the harsh world of the Soviet prison system, tattoos became something more, a secret language. What if every tattoo on your body told strangers your rank, your crimes, and even your entire history? Long before tattooing took over, criminals in Russia were branded. In the 1800s, deserters got a cross pricked on their hands, and convicts were burned with letters like BOP for thief, often on their face. Other marks were designated for prisoners sentenced to hard labor or escapees. And although this practice was banned in 1863, the idea of marking criminals never disappeared. By the 1930s, criminal castes like the Vori v Sakone, or otherwise known as the Thieves-in-Law, rose to power and tattoos replaced brands, beginning the emergence of tattooing culture. At first, any tattoo could signal a criminal, except for sailors. In the Soviet Gulag systems, tattoos became a coded language of rank, history, and reputation. When Stalin's Gulag system swelled in the 1940s, millions of prisoners, from hardened criminals to political prisoners, were forced together. Tattoos helped separate the real thieves, the criminals, from everyone else. Originally, many designs were borrowed from sailors. Designs like ships, anchors, daggers, even tigers were often arbitrary with little meaning. But inside of the Gulag, they evolved into a secret code. A thief's full set of tattoos was his suit, recording crimes, sentences, and allegiances. In this world, a tattoo wasn't a decoration. Wearing the wrong rank could mean humiliation, mutilation, or death. But how did new prisoners learn this deadly language? The education was brutal and unforgiving. Veteran criminals, the established Vori, controlled the tattoo process entirely. New inmates couldn't simply choose their designs. Each tattoo had to be earned through specific actions or crimes, and senior prisoners decided who was worthy of which marks. Over time, more unique designs were added to this secret code. Here are some of the most prominent and what they mean. Firstly, let's examine a tattoo depicting one of Russia's most iconic cultural icons, St. Basil's Cathedral. Tattoos depicting this cathedral represent a prisoner's time spent incarcerated and were a prominent design in Soviet prisons. The number of domes on an inmate's church had indicated the number of sentences they had served over their lifetime. These tattoos could be found anywhere on an inmate's body, but they were most prominent on an inmate's chest and stomach. While these tattoos represented an inmate's reputation as a repeat offender, other tattoos, like the nautical stars, highlighted something much more serious. This tattoo carried over from sailors' tattoo designs. However, unlike its maritime origin of seafaring and good luck, nautical stars in Soviet prisons evolved to have a much more serious meaning. Depending on the tattoo's location on the body, the stars convey a prisoner's status and were colloquially referred as thieves' stars to differentiate it from its sailor origins. This tattoo had to be earned and was coveted amongst prisoners. However, it had more than one interpretation. When the stars were worn on the knees, the stars are a sign of a prisoner who commands respect. The implied meaning is, I will never get on my knees in front of anyone. Whereas stars marked on the shoulders signified a higher rank, indicating that a prisoner was a high-ranking thief amongst others. Only the most respected individuals could wear the thieves' stars in that area of the body. This elaborate design signaled authority without words. While this design designated a respected prisoner, one design was an insignia for danger. Tattoos of skulls or other death symbols indicate that the prisoner is a convicted murderer or an extremely dangerous criminal who isn't afraid to commit murder. These tattoos were often placed on the hands, chest, or back. They were made to be dark, aggressive, and immediately convey a threat to warn other prisoners of this particular individual's violent reputation. While this tattoo was used to intimidate others, other tattoos had a more merciful translation. Tattoos depicting portraits of Stalin and Lenin were not used to honor the political figures or the ideologies that placed these individuals in these harsh prisons in the first place, but instead were used because prisoners believed placing tattooed portraits of Lenin and Stalin on their bodies would protect them from a firing squad. Soviet authorities were prohibited from shooting any images depicting their leaders. However, unbeknownst to the criminals, authorities would instead shoot prisoners in the back of the head. These tattoos were placed on the front of the body, in obvious spots like the chest, under the belief that it would shield individuals from an execution by firing squad. While other tattoos signified a thief's incarceration, rank within the criminal hierarchy, and violent behavior, one tattoo identified a thief's active criminal career. Tattoos illustrating the Virgin Mary and Jesus were not an indication of a thief's piety, but instead used to represent that the thief had been an active criminal since an early age, or used as protection from some misfortune. This tattoo was placed on the chest or shoulder areas, and was primarily used to signify a thief's devotion to the criminal lifestyle, a lifestyle that had consumed them since their youth. Only thieves dedicated to the criminal life could earn this design. While these are not all of the known tattoo designs, these tattoos helped to form a cultural language of power, survival, and danger. Each tattoo wasn't just a story, it was a code. Misread it, and the consequences could be fatal. In the world of Soviet prisons, every tattoo symbol mattered.